Friends, the difference between HTML, CSS and JavaScript can be understood very easily and nicely using this simple analogy, simple example of a house. So you build the structure of a house. You can see the leftmost image, right? So we have a nice structure of the house. One thing, I just want to warn and caution. Most of the YouTube videos shows you a blueprint in a paper and tells that is HTML, right? No. That's a good example for objects and classes and all of those things. But for HTML is a real structure. It's not just a concept. It's not just an idea. It's not just a blueprint. It's the structure itself. So basically you can literally go inside the house and live there, right? It might not be very comfortable, but there is a real structure there. It's not imaginary. Okay, so HTML, this structure here, you can see it does not have much design or much color to it, but there is still a nice structure. When you add CSS to it, if you compare your website with a house and it was made with HTML, the structure was created with HTML. When you add some CSS to it, you can see that it's so much more colorful and nice, right? It's so much visually pleasant and nice to the eyes. But still, if you try to ring the bell, if you press this button, the bell would not ring. If you switch on of this light, it won't turn on, right? Those functionalities are missing. So here in HTML, we created the structure. When we applied some CSS to it, it became colorful and nice. Finally, when you apply JavaScript or functionalities to it, it gets all the functionalities. So once you ring the doorbell, the bell would ring, ding dong. Once you turn on the light of the lamp, it will glow. So JavaScript is like electricity, functionality, all of that added to your structure. Now let's see a real example. So here is a very simple to-do list application written only in HTML. So you can see there is no CSS, there is no JavaScript here, just a little bit of HTML. So we have a nice title for to-do list, we have an input, a button, right? But if you press button, you see nothing is happening. You can type here something like, learn HTML. You will see that the task is not added, right? Also, it looks like there is no style, there is no look to it, but still there is a structure, right? If you apply to the same HTML a little bit of CSS, it looks something like this. Still the functionality is missing. So if you type learn CSS and add task, it won't happen. Nothing would happen. There is no functionality. There is no electricity. But the look is so much more better. Same HTML with a little bit of CSS. This thing here becomes or looks this thing. Do you see the difference and importance of HTML and CSS separately? Now, if I add a little bit of JavaScript to the same HTML and CSS, so you can see there is the same HTML, there is the same CSS, but I have added a little bit of functionalities using JavaScript, a little bit of electricity using JavaScript. And now if I add to my to-do list learn HTML and I click add task, you can see it's in my list now. If I do learn CSS, that will be added to my list. If I do learn JavaScript, it will be added to my list. Do you see the difference? Very nice analogy, friends. A structure, dhacha, a plain structure is HTML. A bit of styling is CSS. A bit of functionality is JavaScript. One important thing to be aware of though is here you see I don't have any CSS. There is no CSS, there is no styling, there is no visual pleasantness. I have the same HTML and I have the JavaScript. So this is just HTML plus JavaScript. Still it's working, right? So if I see learn web development, and if I add the task does get added. So we have the structure, it has electricity, it has functionality because it has JavaScript, but the look is not that pleasant. The aesthetics, the looks is not there. I hope with these two examples, and all of these would be provided to you in the notes, so feel free to play around with them here. But I really hope that the distinction between HTML, CSS and JavaScript is clear to all of you, and we will go into much more depth of these things once you complete your HTML playlist and move to CSS and then move to JavaScript.